Hi, Taylor. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing really, really well, Elisha. I'm actually pretty excited to be on here. I was looking forward to it. I had it circled on the calendar, and
Hmm.
thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And you see, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this often because I feel like it is important. And you see, according to a scientific study, it states that when you give people positive feedback, it improves their work and enhances their work, and it makes them do even more better. So that's why I do it. All right. So I want to thank you, Tyler, firstly, for investing in yourself. You see, the fact that you are on this platform right now is as a result of you investing in yourself. And oftentimes, I make reference to the amazing mango tree. I was on that road some months back, Tyler, and you see, there was this particular mango tree by the roadside, and it didn't catch my attention at all. Why? Because it's got no mangoes on it. It just looked dry and unattractive. Then I just walked past it, okay? But you see, just recently, I was on that same road, but this time around something changed. I then sat at the mango tree from a distance. Man, it caught my attention pretty good from a distance. Then instantly I got the urge to, move closer and have a good look. Then when I moved closer, Tyler, oh man, it wowed me because there are a lot of mangoes on it. Not just mangoes, but ripe mangoes. And it looked so beautiful and attractive. Oh man, it was really, really amazing. The point is, the fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing person you are today attracted me to you. And it made it so impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you see you got the message from me to be on the show because the things I was reading about you and how impactful what you're doing is, oh man. I said, this man is going to be on the show. So thank you so very much, Tyler, for investing in yourself and becoming the amazing person that you are. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite because if you had said nope, there was nothing I could do about it. Thank you so very much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. So,
Some of the greatest things I've ever accomplished in my life have come from saying yes. So it was an easy sell when I saw your reach out, and
yeah,
particularly what you're doing with witnesses. I
yeah,
really,
thank you.
really do enjoy the show. So thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I love that. So let's get started. You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show, Tyler, for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. You see, I believe in order for one to move from an uncomfortable situation to a comfortable one, Tyler, I believe it takes the application of knowledge. Not just knowledge, but the application of it. And you see, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. Now, the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Tyler on the show is for the sake of the listeners. You see, Tyler, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there, how to do this and how to do that. So these folks trust me for quality information. And I firmly believe that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Tyler, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or professional journey. We are just so curious. We want to know how you got here and, know more about you. So afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Tyler, over to you.
Always love this question because how I got here is a very circuitous journey. When I look back in my life, it's pretty straight line, but if I was to be a 5 or 6 year old me looking forward, it would seem such a winding and fraught journey. I started at a very young age as a child actor. That came about after my father passed away, and my mother was really looking for an outlet for me to kind of explore my emotions and my feelings. I had become very closed off after my father passed away. I was only 6 years old when he did. And so acting became kind of my grounding and my focus of a lot of my life. And I went to a fine arts high school. When I was 17, I had a medical incident that paralyzed the left side of my body. That took almost a year to recover from. that really reinvigorated my commitment to the craft and to performance, because when you can't use your voice or use your face or use your body, that is the instrument from which we as performers convey the emotions and the text that we're given. And I couldn't do that. And so it really pushed me and gave me a drive to want to heal my body, heal my mind, and get back to the thing that I loved. And I did that for another decade and then retired from acting, got an engineering discipline, started my own mapping firm. That was a very successful venture for 3.5 years until my business partner passed away. And in her passing, the entire business collapsed because everything was in her name. We didn't have the right director's insurance in place. We had very large financial commitments that could no longer be satisfied without her expertise and her knowledge. And so my business collapsed overnight and again became a time of rebirth and rejuvenation. A friend of mine had reached out to me and said, you have this training from your business. You'd actually make a really good safety officer. Would you be interested in pivoting from what you're doing and going into safety? And I said, sure, that sounds like something. It's better than nothing. And right now I feel like I have nothing. So he offered me this lifeline and I took it. And that has become my career now for the last 15 years, which has brought me back to performance, because in my safety career, I've become a keynote speaker and presenter and trainer, including writing a #1 best-selling book, The Power to Speak Naked, which has provided me the opportunity to get back on stage. And instead of saying other people's words and presenting other people's stories, I now get to say my words, present my story in the way that I feel is the most powerful and most impactful. Again, to go from here looking backwards, it seems very connected, very straight. But if I was to tell 6-year-old me, you're going to be a safety professional and speaking in front of tens of thousands of people with the likes of Tony Robbins and Phil Town and opening for Les Brown, that would blow my mind. I wouldn't even know what to say with those things.
Amazing, Tyler. You see, one of the things I picked from your story is the fact that you have this never giving up spirit. Because I've heard of cases where what happened to you occurred to someone also, and it ended that person's life from the standpoint of not doing anything. The person remained stagnant and refused to do anything. So I believe if that person get to listen to you, the person might feel challenged to want to take a step and act just like you did. I don't know if you caught
Well,
that.
and I have a lot of grace that has been afforded me in my life. And I'm very thankful looking back, particularly my medical incident at 17. I was surrounded by great mentors and people who could show me how to adopt that mindset. Because I assure you, when I woke up January 1st, 1997, and my body was paralyzed, I did not feel like continuing on. But a great man in my life, Dr. Robert Corbett, was my primary care, medical care provider. And he opened my eyes to the possibility of possibilities. One of the things that was frustrating is I refer to it as a medical incident at 17 because we don't have a clear idea of actually what it was. If it was a stroke, I likely wouldn't have been able to recover my motor skills. If it was a Bell's palsy, it would have only affected my face. If it was some of these other things, they don't quite explain what I had. And that was frustrating for me at the beginning. I wanted to have a label for it. I wanted to be able to say this is a thing. And Bob kind of flipped my perspective on it, saying, if you have this diagnosis, it's going to put you into this box, and these are the only things that we can do about it. But because we don't know what it is, we have unlimited choice and unlimited possibility for you, which means you have unlimited paths for healing, and that should be freeing. And that was really interesting for him to say. And a few years later, he actually gifted me as a present, as a birthday present, my first really intensive workshop for self-development with Dr. John DeMartini at one of his breakthrough seminars. And that was, again, an incredible gift, and one that you don't really appreciate how impactful it is at the time. I understood that there was a very nice gesture of Bob, but I didn't fully appreciate or comprehend just how big a gift that was until later in my life, where I've been able to see how those lessons are so impactful, and to be able to have some of those, to be able to change your viewpoint and see where life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, and to be able to really apply that hindsight into why am I in this situation currently.
Amazing. I love that word, apply, because the insight is useless without application. No matter how valuable it is, without application, it will do nothing. So I got that. And that's a very important perspective, when you're surrounded with folks who would push you and do not want you to remain stagnant. And that, even if you are open to accepting whatever it is they're teaching you, okay? Because it is one thing to be surrounded with good people. It is another thing to learn from them. It is another thing to receive insight from them and apply it in your life. So I got that. And being a speaker, all right, I feel like there might be some folks listening to us right now who would want to hear from you from the standpoint of some insider tips they need to know. All right. So can you share some insider tips every speaker needs to know with us?
I think the biggest tip that I would provide, and even the greatest speakers I've ever seen and some of the most powerful orators on the planet, I think struggle with this like anybody. And it's that imposter syndrome where you feel that who are you to be delivering this message? And I've worked with some great speakers who have all at some point or in some way felt that. And the best advice that I can give to anybody, whether they're a seasoned professional or somebody who really wants to be on stage, or wants to have that platform but is afraid to step into that light, is that you are the expert. Particularly if you are speaking of your experiences in your life, because nobody knows your life and the lessons you've learned through your experiences better than you. And one of the things that we do in all of my seminars is a very quick 2-minute exercise, which I'll explain to your audience because it takes absolutely no time to do. And that is, we do some simple math to divide their life into time periods. So you take your life, however old you are, and you round to the nearest 5. So in my case, I am 45, so I don't have to do any rounding. But last year, being 44, I would have rounded up by 1 to 45. And then you take whatever that number is that you've rounded to, and you divide by 5, and that will give you 5 even time periods or epochs in your life. And for the couple of A-type personalities out there who are like, no, I need an exact number. If you rounded up, take however many you rounded up by and subtract that from your last time period. When I was 44 and was rounding up, I would just subtract 1 from the last time period, and then, go from what would have been 36 to 44 instead of 36 to 45. Or actually, no, it would have been 40 to 44. And you can do that for any age, any time period. And if you had to round down, just tack on those extra 1 or 2 years onto your first epoch or time period. So in my case, 0 to 9 would have then become 0 to 10 or 11 or whatever it would happen to be if I was rounding up or down. And when you have these 5 time periods, look at each one. And for that time period, ask yourself, what is the most significant memory? What if I think of me at that time period, Tyler, 0 to 9? What is the first thing that springs to mind? And it needs to be the first thing. Like when you think of you, what is that first memory that pops up? And you do that for each time period, and that will create 5 impactful or significant moments in your life. And then the homework from that begins. This exercise takes 2 minutes. I just explained it, and you could have probably done it in the math. And it shouldn't take more than 2.5 minutes, because you really shouldn't take more than 20 or 30 seconds per time period to figure out what that impactful memory is, because it needs to be the one that springs first to mind. If you have to think about it, move on and maybe pick 2 from a more significant time period. Maybe there's 2 real vivid things from your second or third epoch that really stand out, but it shouldn't take more than 2.5 minutes. The homework comes when you explore why. Why are those the memories that stand out to you? Why are those what is the significance around that to you? And then ask yourself, what are the lessons that you learned from it? Who were you before that event? Who were you after that event? What did you need to know coming out of that? What did you know going into it? What are those lessons that you learned from it? And then those are the lessons that you can then teach other people. Because again, you know the story, you know the lessons that you learned, you know who you were prior and who you were coming out of those events. And those are the things that are going to have the most impact on you. Because second secret is the thing you're afraid to say is very likely the thing that your ideal audience needs to hear. That thing that you covet in your heart that you're like, oh, I hope nobody ever finds out about this. And I'm not saying to expose your deepest, darkest secret. But what I'm saying is that thing that you are afraid people will find out, and that you're like, oh, if they only knew, they would think I was a charlatan, or they would think I was this, or they would think I was that. That's probably the thing that the real audience that you need to attract into your life needs to hear. Because if you can have the power and the strength and the courage to stand up and say that thing, you're going to draw naturally those people into your life. It's kind of like at the end of the movie 8 Mile, when Eminem stands up in the rap battle and his friend says, but what if he talks about all these things in your life? And he goes, yeah, and he then on stage says them first. And in saying them first takes his power back. And it's that person who speaks up first that is viewed as the leader. We've all experienced things in our life, and very likely we have all experienced very similar circumstances some way or another. But it's through that shared communication where we can feel connected. And the person who speaks first is the one that's going to be viewed as the leader because they were the one who brought up the idea initially.
Powerful, Tyler. How did you come up with that? That's amazing. That's a great one, man. I love
Again,
that.
years of experience and having the privilege and the joy to work with some of these giants in the industry. You know, I've taken little bits from everybody. Tony Robbins, who says that life happens for you, not to you. Les Brown, who says you never tell a story without a point and you never make a point without a story. Working very closely with Roger Love from vocal coaching and finding his whole idea of finding the power in your voice. Working with Bo Eason, who said that the more universal or the more specific your story is, the more universal it will resonate, and kind of assimilating all of these little bits. And you'd mentioned it up at the beginning. We have all of this information that is floating around, but information is information, and not all of it is good. And it becomes that need to filter and assimilate all of this information that's floating before you can combine it, and it becomes knowledge. And then as you gain knowledge, that and you synthesize it and start to learn it and find your understanding within the world, that's when we create that true power, when we become masters of these things through years of trial and error and application, as we had said. And when you can actually apply things, that's when you have a mastery over a thing, and then you have the ability to teach and learn. So I believe that we are three things at any given time. We are a student, we are a peer, and we are an instructor or a teacher or a mentor. I am still learning. And I have a peer group around me who supports me, who is at the level that I am. And as I rise and learn and grow, I believe it is upon all of us, incumbent within the human species, to then take what we have synthesized and become knowledge and pass that on to other people. Because if you're just hoarding a thing, it does no good. Wealth should be spread about, and that includes the wealth of knowledge.
That's right. I'm going to take that as a final thought. That's a good one, man. I love that. And you see, just to buttress what you said, the day we stop being a learner, that from that day, we start to decay and we no longer improve. We no longer enhance in our lives. So we have to be a continuous learner always and all the time. I got that. So for folks who would like to reach out to you, Tyler, learn more about what you're doing or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
Well, the best way to reach me is through my website, which is seantylerfoley.com, and I'm sure you will have that in the show notes. But before they come to my platform, Elijah, what I would ask is if they're enjoying the Witnesses podcast, they're already on your platform. They're discovering me through you. And to thank you for that, and as a real gift to me, if they could, before coming to my platform, give your platform a 5-star review, if they're coming to you regularly and discovering some of your guests through you, as a thank you to you, and so that we can all grow and learn and share together. If they can give you a 5-star review for me, I would find that I would be deeply appreciative of that, because it will help you grow your podcast. It will help more people discover you, which will help more people discover me. And if they could leave not just the 5 stars, but a comment, why? What is it that they enjoy about it? What would they like to learn more of, so that you can grow that content for them on their behalf? Because after all, we're doing this for the listener, for you right now who's listening to this at home. So if you could give a 5-star review to Elijah and the Witnesses podcast, that will help everybody. And then click on my link, SeanTylerFoley.com, and Sean is spelled the proper Irish way, SeanTylerFoley.com. If you click on that link, we offer some great gifts to anybody who comes to the website. First of all, we'll give you a free PDF download of The Power to Speak Naked, which is my #1 best-selling book. So you don't have to spend the $17.95 in bookstores, although you're more than welcome to do that, but you'll get the free PDF download. You'll get access to my Drop the Mic speaker series, which is 7 5-minute videos, which over the course of a week, you can consume them as part of your coffee break, and it will make you a more confident, better speaker, provide you a lot more tips than what I was able to provide today. And we'll also give you access to our Endless Stages Facebook group, where I go live every week and answer questions that arise, and give a 20-minute training live every week. So all of those are my free gifts to your audience, but only if they give a 5-star review. It's an integrity thing. I ask that you do that, help grow this channel. And if you're willing to help and invest time into this program, into this podcast, into this channel, and into Elijah himself, then I'd be more than happy to invest my time into you. So
Beautiful.
give the 5-star review, comment why, and then come over to SeanTylerFoley.com.
Thank you so very much, Tyler. I love that. That's a great one. So that's going to be the end of the show. Thank you for educating us and opening our eyes to some certain things. I truly appreciate it, man. Thank you.